What do you want, Chris? You want a baboo?
No, I
You don't. You absolutely don't.
No.
There you go. There you got it. You got it. That's a bootleg baboo. The true baboo is the Breckie baboo.
I'll never decline a baboo.
Nick, let's hear it.
Baboo.
Oh, you son of a bitch! God. I don't like that it's this, but it's already January 12th, 2017.
This is Idle Thumbs 297. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Breckie.
I'm Jake Rodkin. A somber beginning to our second episode of this year. It's not even the first episode of this year.
It started off with you disliking it.
Oh. I love it. I love it, you guys. It's January whatever.
It's a day. It's 2017. That's terrible and sort of a relief.
It's fine.
It's both of those things.
It's really both of those. Increasingly less of a relief.
Yeah.
I'm finding.
It's fine.
Yeah. How's it going, you guys?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah?
Yeah. Ready to record a fucking podcast?
Sure.
Yeah.
Ready to pod?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick,
Yes.
you indicated
Uh-oh.
you knew exactly how this podcast was
Oh, well. Well,
Oh, that's
I
true.
did to some degree.
Oh.
When Jake messaged me the other night and told me that he had watched all of the Jurassic Park films recently.
Oh, we're going there right
Why
off the
not?
bat? Yeah, no. It's true. It's true.
You did a marathon?
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, I want to know how this came about.
How many are there at this point?
Well, there's four, including
Four?
Jurassic World. I did
Okay.
not watch Jurassic World. Let's be clear. I watched the Jurassic Park
You watched the
films.
Jurassic
Trilogy.
Park film.
I watched the trilogy.
watched
The trilogy. The
You watched
OT.
the original trilogy.
I watched-
as someone call it. You know, like in casual conversation when you refer to the original
Yeah,
trilogy.
I didn't watch it in like...
Jake means the series of films that concludes with Jurassic Park III.
Yeah, some advocate watching it in Machete order, where when Jeff Goldblum's daughter is introduced in The Lost World, you then cut and play Jurassic World all the way through, then go
What?
back.
Is that movie a midquel?
No, it's not at all.
Okay.
It's not at all.
By the way, patent.
Yeah.
Midquel.
Patent pending.
Patent definitely pending.
Yeah, I did not watch the Jurassic quadrilogy. I merely watched the Jurassic Park trilogy.
Wait,
But
no,
it's-
seriously though, is that movie a fucking
No.
midquel?
It takes place in present day, Chris. All Jurassic Park movies take place in
Well, then
present
why?
day.
So
That's
explain-
not real. Oh my God. Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen
Okay,
Jurassic
sorry.
World.
I will explain a sad thing to you. And this is some people who love Star Wars are always trying to come up with a way to make the prequel trilogy kind of make some sense.
Right.
So there's
Yeah, I'm aware of
there's
this.
the thing referred to as I'm not even going to get machete order right, but machete order in quotes is the way that you're like quote unquote supposed to watch the prequels now, which is like
The way it's meant to be.
somewhere
watched.
you're watching the original trilogy, then I think between Empire and Jedi you're supposed to then
right.
watch a couple of the prequel movies.
Weird.
Because Darth Vader's like, I am your father, and then you're like, oh, I know he's his father. Now zoop, let's like you're probably wondering how I got in this situation.
that's totally
and then,
what
like,
that is.
and then you go
Yeah.
and watch the prequels.
And then you watch like 6 hours
Yeah,
of
of garbage,
bullshit
and then you're like, oh, now-
as like a flashback.
now
essentially?
I have a greater
Yeah.
understanding. But no, so I
Yeah, hopefully it's actually in the movie that happens. He says, "I am your father," and then the wavy lines
Right.
appear, and then it just starts.
that's just
episode
record
one.
scratch. Just
Yeah.
full record scratch.
This is I've just guys. I've just been leeching my complete fan edit, machete edit, including wavy line dream.
Well, you actually just hear you hear Luke Skywalker going, no. Like, if you loop that waveform across the entirety of the prequels, and he goes, oh, that's impossible.
they have to sort of. This is an audio professional term. They have to sweeten his scream a bit
Yeah.
with some augmented.
Yeah.
They grab some Tom Cruise scream library. They grab some
Arnold eyes bugging out. Yeah. But in Luke's,
impossible.
in Luke Skywalker's mind, that's all just like a twinkle while he's screaming no. But he's having that's
A twinkle. I like the idea that he has a twinkle in his eye.
well, it's a forced twinkle. It's a forced twinkle.
He's putting on a big show for everyone. He's really upset about
God,
this.
now he also
he knows.
he also
He's got a
remembers
little
all of
twinkle in his
Rogue
eye.
One now as well.
Oh my
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But anyway, God, Jesus. So I was watching. I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just go ahead.
I was watching the movie
I'll stop ruining you.
Hunt for the Wilderpeople,
I don't
which
even know
is
what that is.
it was a movie it's made in New Zealand. It's an indie movie made a few years ago that's really good, and has Sam Neill in it as like.
I only know about stupid movies.
It has Sam Neill in it as a just bush survivalist New Zealand guy. And
Sam Neill.
Like he got
Sam Neill.
through the two administrations, and he kind of
yeah,
came
yeah,
out
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Good. But
I mean,
yeah,
sorry,
No.
he just likes bushes.
he likes living out in the wilderness.
Dynasty, I mean.
He's basically a New Zealand version of Dr. Alan Grant, where he just broke and out in the woods and not an
fantasy
archaeologist.
world full of dinosaurs.
Yeah, but anyway, we watched that movie and
you're like, what if this was more fake and more ridiculous?
no, it
Okay.
just it was very simple and boring. It was just Dana saying, "I really want to watch Jurassic Park now," and I said, "Okay," but we watched the first movie at like 11 a.m. We watched The Wilderpeople at like 11 a.m., so it was only early afternoon, and it was a weekend, and it was raining a lot. So
Was this past weekend?
yes,
Okay.
a computer then suggested after watching Jurassic Park, maybe what you want to watch is another Jurassic Park. I'm like, I would.
The computer
I would.
suggested Jurassic
Deep
Park
learning
3.
machine algorithms.
Yeah, and then it's like maybe what you want
advanced.
for some reason. Like, well, then it fed us Jurassic Park 2 or Jurassic Park The Lost World, and it was like, that was, I don't think that was good. Neither of us had seen it since it was in the theaters. And then the computer was like, if you enjoyed that because you watched it all the way to the credits, maybe what you want is to watch a third fucking Jurassic Park movie. And it was like, I do, I think now, I don't know. And then we watched the third Jurassic Park, and it was like, there's things about this that are actually less shit than The Lost
really?
World.
Interesting. I actually don't know if I've seen Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, it's
ever.
bad. No, let's be clear
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
There are no good
Who
Jurassic
directed
Park
that
movies.
movie? Did Spielberg direct it?
No,
I didn't think so.
Spielberg,
It was the guy who directed The Rocketeer?
the guy who directed The Rocketeer and Captain
Yeah.
America, is Joe Johnston, I think,
yes, yeah.
who was
Okay.
an effects artist at
I haven't seen
ILM
either
forever.
of
Like
those
he's, I
movies.
think, known
Yeah, that's
for he
right.
designed Boba Fett. So let's bring this all around.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
Like that was his like thing. Is he did, or he at least worked on that. Like
Yep.
he was of that vintage of Lucas Empire
So
special
he always
effects.
needs to do so presumably there's some like Art Deco helmet related imagery or motif somewhere in this movie, because all three of those other things involve some kind of like stylish angular helmet motif.
Yeah.
So
Captain America, the Rocketeer, and the Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, Jurassic Park 3 doesn't have that. What did you want to talk about
what
when
a
it comes to
disappointment.
Jurassic Park sequels? They're all shit. Like,
Well, you were making the argument that 3 is actually a superior sequel to Jurassic World.
I think
which
that it is, and I think
Yeah.
that okay, given that they are both trash, which they are.
Or
They're
The
like-
Lost World, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
The Lost
World and
Yeah.
Jurassic Park 3, they are both garbage. I actually enjoyed Jurassic Park 3 a lot more, which I didn't think that I would.
Part of that expectations, do you think?
I think so. Jurassic Park 3 is known now for it. Like, Jurassic Park 3 has dumped a couple of GIFs in the world, and the most notable one, I think, is that it has...
the dream sequence.
No.
Oh, no.
They go to...
Although...
that's intense. But they go to the aviary, like the never
Oh,
used
yes.
aviary.
Yes.
And the most notable goofy fucking thing in that is that there's some like pterodactyls or something, one of the bird dinosaurs.
They're all bird dinosaurs,
that are in the,
Jake.
but like the winged ones. And there's a shot in this movie where these dinosaurs that are clearly CG or maybe like puppets that then had CG put on top of them, where one of them just like in the middle of a scene just turns and looks at the camera and is really aware that the camera is there. And
Truly designed for the internet age.
and it's except that it wasn't. But yeah,
yeah, that's actually the thing. Like, so much of 90s... That movie was still the 90s, right?
I think it was early 2000s, but it was like
Okay,
pre,
yeah.
Close enough.
It was
It was
like
like 2001.
Tumblr.
so
2001-ish,
much
yeah.
of that like 90s early 2000s like still informed by Gen X culture humor was like stuff that feels like actually it is suited for how people interact on the internet,
Yeah.
but in a way that it is not interactive, like shit like that kind of like self-aware like
Well,
thing. But like
okay.
on the internet you do that because you're pushing it to like dozens to thousands of other people who are then going to be on the other end of it and be like, whoa,
Sure, like
fave or
basically
whatever.
anytime anyone did anything in the TV show community, it was clearly done with the knowledge
Right.
that it would then appear on
Yes,
Tumblr instantly.
yes, exactly,
But like
yeah.
the thing about the stupid pterodactyl turn, or like what pteranodon, whatever it is it feels like the director's intention with that was this dinosaur should behave like an animal actor would behave. It's not like 90s dogging. It's not like going "Warp." It's not like Like, it's not that someone gets hit in the crotch and then the dinosaur goes, oh, it turns to the camera. It's more like
90s dogging is very good.
it's is it? It's more like if you were somehow filming a scene with actual dinosaur actors and then the animal actor,
you know,
like, or if you're filming anything with
Sure.
animal actors and one of the extras,
if
like,
dinosaur actors existed.
yes, that's
this is how they would
clearly what it
act.
was. The
Yeah,
intent was, I think, is like.
Yeah.
An actual bird would probably sort of like go, what the fuck is that? But at the same time, it's ridiculous.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of Jurassic Park 3 in a nutshell is like,
That is hard to parse.
it's an earnest attempt
I see
at
it.
something
Yeah.
very specific and trying to sort of bring any sort of real intentions to this movie, but they all end up just being goofy and schlocky. Where like,
Right. Well, because the line between, that is if you're trying to do something earnest, that is a risky line to draw of like, what if this was like a,
well, like, man,
because, you can't, anytime anyone looks at a camera, that is like the most loaded imagery in film, right? Like, I assume that kind of fourth wall breaking goes back to like really early times in cinema.
yeah.
Right, so like that is a risky.
It clearly
march
seemed like
to
an
set
attempt
foot
at
in.
naturalistic animal behavior where they're like banking on the fact that they have like black eyes that don't have a pupil and whatever else, and that like if a character sort of trends towards looking at the camera in just like an establishing shot, maybe it would be the footage that you would grab on the day. But I think it's totally overthought, because what you would actually do is go, the animal looked at the camera, and you would reshoot it.
The camera just kind of like in the movie that happens. The camera just kind of goes like, "Boo." And there's just a little like startled, like,
Or the home video version where the guy just sort of like slowly turns the camera away from the one that is looking at it. I'm like, let's just reframe this to be the good version of this, because that fucking dinosaur just keeps looking at me.
Man, there is actually something kind of weird to me about as movies get less and less and less like elementally about a physical camera filming stuff that's happening in front of the camera. Right? Like, at this point, a lot of big budget movies, that happens, obviously. You have to shoot principal photography, and like you have to have something to put into your computers. But like a lot of what's going on is totally animated, and like in a lot of cases the camera itself is like a virtual camera and so on. Movies seem like, as that's happening, they seem to really be doubling down on like going out of their way to act like the camera, to like recreate the sensation of like, this is a camera and we're going to put lens flares on it, and like the camera is going to get droplets of water on it, and like it's going to shake, and like, you know what I mean? Like when you were describing the intention of that, this is what it would be like were there an animal actor that is a dinosaur. Like that is making a lot of assumptions about like, and this camera would be a notable thing the thing would see if this thing was real. Like, it's sort of trying to recreate like an honest version of something that only happens incidentally in the past, but now it's like we're trying to engineer the sensation that this entire framework,
the sort of like Battlestar Galactica / J.J. Abrams
I was gonna
aesthetic
say
is
that.
all the things that were mistakes in analog filmmaking, and that you only got as regrettable artifacts because you couldn't reshoot because you were shooting on film and your shot setup was really expensive.
Right.
Now the aesthetic to somehow
now it's the thing that you want to be
or just
in everything,
to like,
in every
whoa,
shot.
I just threw everything everywhere. That
to create
connotates authenticity.
The
Right,
Millennium
yeah.
Falcon shot in episode 7 or whatever that was used in the early
Where it, like,
teaser, I
flips
feel like is
upside down and stuff?
that's the perfect example of that shit, because it's like, this is just, it's fucking Star Wars. Why is there a camera that's wobbling around trying to track the Millennium Falcon?
I actually
Like,
the scene
I disagree with that entirely, because I think that shot is expensive, but I think if you address what Star Wars became as a whole with the battle sequences in Empire Strikes Back and the entirety of Return of the Jedi, I think that shot is totally allowed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I think it's
I think it's when a camera goes to light speed, or when a ship goes to light speed, then the camera wobbles around in space is when it's not.
Well, I was
good.
going to say, yeah.
Let's
Well,
just, I prefer Machete order.
my example of this from Star Wars Episode 7 is
Trash.
I mean, the one I always think of is the shot where they're inside the Stormtrooper dropship.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It looks like Saving Private Ryan or something, because the camera's like shaking around and the light is flickering and you see all these Stormtrooper heads, and it actually looks like a modern war movie in the sense that, I mean, it looks like the way a modern war movie trying to evoke actual documentary war footage looks. So it's sort of filtered through like two different sensibilities in order, and then ending up in a Star Wars movie, which always struck me as really weird. But on that note, I actually this This is an entire thing I wanted to talk about at some point. I didn't even know if it was going to be on.
Is it now? Is this the
maybe
blockbuster
maybe
segment?
This is Dorko Nerd Blockbuster scenario segment. I watched
Star Wars.
I did watch Star Wars last weekend. I think it was actually may have been while you were watching.
This is our new film brat blockbuster cast series.
I watched, actually, Jake, I learned about this from you. I'd never heard of it until like a week ago. The silver screen edition of Star Wars, which is an edition of the original movie Star Wars that was.
This is like a contraband version of Star Wars, though. This is like not sanctioned
no, this is not,
release.
Yeah, sorry. This is not, okay. For what it's worth, I am like strenuously not a pirate of media in my life. Like I always buy everything, but like I could not help myself from downloading this given how many goddamn times I've paid for Star Wars movies in my life.
The rationalization begins immediately.
I know. Anyway, this is a really cool project. This is it is an edition. It is a just bootleg edition of Star Wars that was created by scanning an original 1977 35 millimeter print of Star Wars that was obtained from someone's private collection. Someone just owns this original.
It might have been from the '80s early '80s re-release.
They're both in there.
Huh.
You can choose. Yeah, they have It's actually crazy because there's the 1977 one and the 1981.
Oh, that's the one that has A New Hope spliced in versus
yeah,
the doesn't.
I
Anyway,
watched the actual original 1977 movie, and there's a ton of differences, even between, not a ton. There are notable differences even between the 1977 and 1981 release, which was interesting because Lucas clearly, like from a long time ago, was already really interested in
messing with it,
like messing with this stuff. Anyway, it was a really I guess I don't need to go deep into it, but the original Star Wars is an amazing movie, and which is a thing that I think most people, especially if you're a dork who's listening to this podcast, you would probably sort of just reflexively agree with. But I think it's actually worth watching that movie, especially if you can, in something as close as possible to its original form. And thinking about it in the context, not as like the progenitor of this sprawling, decades-spanning multimedia franchise, but just as like an individual work of film. Like as a movie, that thing is amazing.
Yeah, I watched
really good.
I watched that silver screen print as well, and yeah, it feels so much more like a weird outlier inside of late 70s filmmaking.
Yes, 1970s American movie
like,
making, yeah.
The original Star Wars as it got special editioned and then like more tastefully special editioned and recolor graded, and like all Star Wars movies have kind of been like degrained and color graded to basically match each other as well as they can, where like Rogue One, a movie made in 2016, can basically seamlessly cut into the first shot of A New Hope, which is like the special edition, like Star Wars basically increasingly feels like episodes of its own TV show that have been produced over 30 years. But when you go and watch that like straight up scanned 70s one, it's surprising to look at how much that frog has basically been boiled over 30 years.
Oh yeah, and when it starts, I remember. I mean, also some of this just has to do with like the specific print itself, obviously, but like. So who knows what it, would have looked like in a truly pristine print. But when you start, it's like, man, this is it. I don't know if it's because I just acclimated or because it just so happens that like the early frames, I don't even know, of in the first reel of this thing were just a little less cleaned up. But like it starts and you're like, oh, this feels like an old movie. But then as you get into it, it really just. It's like, wow, this is actually just a shockingly beautiful movie where just everything looks fantastic. And the reason I thought of this at all is because when we were talking about like Handycam and Screen Shake and stuff like that in the context of Star Wars and these other and Jurassic Park and so on, I was really struck by the fact that as I think the first handheld, not the first time there's Screen Shake or anything, but the first actual handheld shot, I think, in Star Wars, and one of the only ones in the whole movie, is when is on Tatooine when Obi-Wan is like looking around and he's like coming to find he scares the Tusken Raiders away and he's sneaking around and R2-D2 is like hiding in a little cave and that's all like not even all of it, but like a few of those shots are handycam shots, and the camera's like peeking around rocks and stuff, and it feels really voyeuristic and intense in a way that modern movies cannot, or at least are unwilling to achieve, because they spend so much of their time with the camera like flying around and simulating handheld and doing all this shit. Whereas Star Wars is like, for as much of it as it's an action movie, obviously it spends a lot of its time being very stately and very composed and very like
part of that is
carefully
probably
attuned
because so much of it is matte shots and effect shots
Yeah,
where you
no,
can't move the camera
for
around.
sure. But the result is that you get something that feels really grand, and then in the moment when it is like peeking around corners, it feels really claustrophobic, really intense, really voyeuristic, really like real time. And I don't think it would have been possible to create that moment of like that particular kind of tension and sort of smallness if the movie had constantly been using every camera movement trick in the book up to that point. And it like that moment, like it really struck me. Like it was really, really impactful.
I bet that just to completely jump back to what you were saying a second ago, I bet that the beginning of that is actually noisier, because I would not be surprised if reel one of that was screened more often just to show someone it's Star Wars. Right. And then also the leader on film reels is always going to be noisier because it's the part that's like messed into the camera. Like it seems like when we go watch stuff at Noir City at the Castro, which is where they screen a bunch of old movies, like films that have been run through a projector a bazillion times, when it gets to the beginning and end of reels is always when it shits up. And I bet that the very beginning of someone's copy of Star Wars is the most watched thing.
I bet you're right. I didn't,
because you're just like,
that.
check this shit out. What? Like,
oh yeah. Also, it was so great to hear the like weird, like slightly detuned first note in that. Oh my God, that is a childhood. That is a thing that is like, I can't speak to objectively. That is just a like, I remember that. How that
where there's
thing
the
sounded.
like played through a film projector, but also recorded off of a magnetic tape that is just like none of it's quite right. Yeah.
But from there were definitely some like real deep like nostalgic hits there watching that again. But there were also a lot of things that as an adult I was like, man, there are a lot of reasons this movie worked really, 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 really well. And like at this point I don't think it's ever going to be topped by anything that bears its name. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I basically think that like the best anyone can do with Star Wars is like don't ruin it more than it has been. Like watching that movie, the character, just like there are so few characters in that movie. There are so few of them compared to like every single other Star Wars movie, in which every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, there's like 20 times the number of characters in it that there need to be, it feels like to me.
Yeah.
And the original Star Wars, there's basically, 3 to 4 characters. Obviously there's a lot more than that. But in terms of people who are on the screen all the time, it's basically like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford are just like overwhelmingly the focus of that movie. And those 3 people, especially Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, absolutely kill. Like Mark Hamill's a little rough in that one, but like, sells the naive kid thing just by virtue of who he is. But man, when we did our last episode of 2016, we did it before the end of the year, and unfortunately, like in the period of time while that episode was banked, Carrie Fisher and her mother Debbie Reynolds passed away, and there were a bunch of people on Twitter and on the forums and stuff who, we made jokes on the podcast about like who even knows what like more terrible things will happen. Haha, 2016, am I right? But then like just like actually the thing we were joking about happened, like a version of that thing.
Yep.
And people pointed out like, oh, you guys didn't even know. And watching this movie made me really bummed. I'm kind of going off on a weird tangent here, but like that movie reminded me, that combined with Carrie Fisher passing away reminded me what an impressive person she was generally. And like, this is late to be sort of mentioning that, it's not timely anymore, but like the way that she was covered in her life was really, I think, disgraceful. And watching that movie was crazy to imagine. She was, what, 19 or something?
I think so.
When that movie was made. She looks so much more composed and like an adult than she actually was, especially given now what we know about like the way she was treated on set and like the stuff that happened to her in that like environment and sort of, you know, how sort of alone she was in that stuff. None of that comes through in the movie, in which she looks to be entirely in command of everything and like fully composed as a person. And that contrasted with the way that she spoke about her experiences in Hollywood and about her life and like just how full of shit basically everyone in that entire world is, I think is really, really cool. And it's been really disingenuous how like much the media has fawned over her in the weeks since she's passed away relative to how much, like Nick, you and I were talking about this a few weeks ago, how much she was basically perpetually treated as like kind of a weird like pariah or like just shy of a laughingstock. And I like it just bums me out. I think it's really shitty. And I just have been thinking a lot about how much like constant exposure to like media churn makes a joke out of everything. I don't know. I'm like getting into a weird zone right now, so I'm going to get way out. I'm going to can it on everything I'm saying right now. But anyway, Star Wars, that was a great movie. And you should really watch it. It's a great reminder of like...
You should watch Star Wars. If you haven't heard of Star Wars...
No, but you should, because Star Wars is now infinite content, but there actually is just a movie called Star Wars that was great. And it's really worth remembering like why specifically it was great.
Yeah, it is one of those like... Anything like that has a bazillion sequels you kind of take for granted. Oh, that first one was good. Like when you were talking about all that anyone who's making new Star Wars stuff can do, the best they can hope to do is not fuck it up. What that reminded me of was when I was working on the 5th Monkey Island game when I was at Telltale, which is like a long-standing game franchise, and the first one is fucking fantastic, like genre-defining. And I remember when we were told we were going to potentially get that license, I said, can we please not work on this? Like, I'm in this job because of Monkey Island. But then on that project, it felt like just the sort of the atrophy of what made that great, like over time in a million sequels. I felt like my job, which I did only as well as a person who fucks everything up can do, was basically to like the analogy of like when you go to a campsite, your job should be to leave it slightly cleaner than how you found it, because it inevitably is just going to have garbage added to it. Sure. I felt like my responsibility as a person who liked Monkey Island was just like, when I walk out of the end of this game, can I at least have maybe cleaned up some of the detritus? And if not, could I have just like moved the food around a little bit and then like, God, it's terrifying. And I used to secretly still want to make another Monkey Island game because I loved that series so much. And now I'm just like, God, can it just... You
mean before or after you worked
even after I worked on Tales of Monkey Island at Telltale Games, and at the end of it, I was like, okay, I feel like now I get it, and I could actually, if this team made another one, we could probably actually like move the trajectory upward. But now I'm like, it's not even worth the risk. It's not even worth the risk of that. Like, just don't make any more. Just stop. Like, just stop doing it.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's nice that. I mean, this is sort of a weird thing to say, but like, it's Monkey Island is not like successful enough on a global scale. That people are gonna feel the need to just like infinitely mine it forever.
And I mean, especially now that it's owned by Disney. Monkey Island, the size of the Monkey Island IP relative to Star Wars and Marvel is like, that's the deep bottom. I'm glad that Double Fine has taken stewardship over a lot of the old LucasArts stuff and is doing like pretty tasteful re-releases.
The stuff Tim was directly involved with, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess he was obviously in Monkey Island as well, but not as the principal guy.
But they already did bad restorations of those before Double Fine got a hold of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. Lucas properties getting messed with.
Weird. These are all Lucas properties.
Yeah. Jurassic Park wasn't, I guess.
That's true.
No.
It just felt like it was of that same school.
Well, because,
it feels like
Jurassic Park is from the creator of Westworld, Chris. Michael Crichton.
Oh, weird. Yeah, you're right. Of course. Which
could
so weird.
fucking shittily loop us back around to J.J. Abrams. Anyway, we got to get off this, I think.
think we got to get into a break.
Oh, yeah. But I mentioned that only because Westworld is a bad robot TV show. Even though it's by the Nolans.
It's a decent robot TV show.
No. It's produced by Bad Robot.
I know, Jake.
It's not a decent. It's a decent. It is.
As far as robot TV shows,
I would say that Westworld. I would say that Westworld in all ways is a bad robot TV show.
That's true. I would say it started out as a promising robot TV show. I would say it kind of
about bad robots. Though.
About bad robot. Yeah, it was a bad robot. It was a bad robot, decent robot TV
trending towards bad robot.
Trending towards bad robot. Ended up pretty questionable robot TV show.
I would describe Westworld all around as a bad robot production.
Just bad Westworld : bad robot.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's my subhead patent pending.
God, Christ.
Video games. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron conveniently sends everything you need to make delicious home-cooked meals right to your door. That is, the ingredients, the recipes, they all come in a nice refrigerated box, and you have 3 meals worth 3 two-person meals per week. It's actually, you can adjust that in various ways, but you get these delicious meals right to your home. You make them. It tells you how. They're very straightforward recipes, but span a wide variety of cuisines and ingredients. It's just the most convenient, nice thing. You learn new cooking techniques. You learn new ingredients. You learn new inspirations from the world of cooking and eating. For instance, seared pork chops with farro and cranberry chutney. This is coming up in January. Spicy shrimp and Korean rice cakes with cabbage and furikake. I don't know what furikake is, but I'm going to find out when I make it.
When you eat it.
When I eat it. Spaghetti squash and marinara with mushrooms and garlic knots. What's a garlic knot?
You'll find out when you eat it.
You'll put it in your mouth, and it'll be delicious, I bet. If you go to blueapron.com/idle, you can get your first 3 meals free with free shipping.
Nice.
3 meals free shipping.
They'll just send you a box of food for free.
And then you can make it. You can cook it up.
A box of ingredients, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just eat it.
I mean, you could recombine them in weird ways. I mean, I would, unless you're like an expert.
Blue Apron hacks.
There probably is that. They're probably totally.
I'm sure that there's a. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I actually know there is, because the other day I was searching for like some food related thing without, like, it wasn't even Blue Apron related, and I ended up on a site that was like, check out how I plussed up this Blue Apron recipe. And they were like, I got my latest Blue Apron, and it gave me an idea. And it was a whole, I wasn't prepared to talk about it because it was just a coincidence that I saw that.
It's fine.
People do all kinds of stuff. It's just food. It's an open platform. Do whatever you want. Go to blueapron.com/idle. You get your first 3 meals free. One thing they do is they use the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch to source, like they use that guide when they're sourcing their seafood. This is a lot of grocery stores will use this rating system to determine if the seafood you're buying is sustainable and like ethically sourced.
Oh, that's cool.
And Blue Apron uses that as their guideline for getting all their seafood. So that's just a cool thing they do. Anyway, blueapron.com/idle. Get your first 3 meals free with free shipping. Thanks, Blue Apron.
You're welcome.
Video game. This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Casper. Casper manufactures and sends directly to Nick Brecken's home a comfortable mattress made in the United States of America that explodes out of a box and fixes his spine. How's that Casper mattress treating you, Nick?
Still good.
You're like a month in or something, probably?
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it.
You can tell how much he loves it. It puts him into this sedate, slumbery.
I'm sleepy all the time now because I want to be in my Casper. I just find my body just shutting down because it just wants to be in the Casper
I don't know
bed.
if this is what they want you to be saying.
I don't know.
If you go to casper.com/thumbs and use the offer code thumbs, you can get $50 towards any mattress purchase.
It's like a cartoon wolf being drawn to like the steam from a pie. Nick's
That's true.
entire
Nick
Nick's
floats
midsection
on a- yeah.
is just sort of drawn to curl back up in bed and just not face the day. Why get up, Casper?
It's true.
Why ever leave your bed? Casper.com/thumbs and the offer code thumbs. Casper, you live on it now. That's not their new slogan, but it's true of Nick Brecken's life.
So comfortable and warm and away from the rest of the world, why ever leave your bed? Why ever see the sun again?
Just watch Jurassic Park movies.
It's cloudy anyway.
That's true. It has been.
It's probably raining.
It has been raining like
Casper.
crazy here. It does sound nice to just curl up on a Casper and wait and sleep it out. Again,
Just sleep it out.
2017.
2017.
Sleep it out.
Sleep it out.
Sleep it out.
Just wait and sleep it out. Casper magic.
2017 through 2021. Just sleep it out. Casper.com/thumbs with the offer code thumbs, $50 towards the purchase of any comfortable, conveniently delivered Casper mattress. Thanks, Casper.
Thanks, Chris.
I
Put it in
know what you
iTunes.
actually mean.
And they specifically at whatever
I
Steve
know.
Jobs thing that was. He
Yeah.
talked about
I'm just goofing on.
we could have sued him or whatever.
Did he? I didn't even know that.
I'm sure he said something like that.
We could have sued him.
That's classic.
Classic
Steve
Steve Jobs
was
quote.
just a simple man.
Would have been insanely great, right? Could have sued him. It's me, Steve Jobs.
I rewatched the iPhone Macworld keynote on Monday because I'm one of the people who rewatches the 10th anniversary iPhone announcement, and I watched a bunch of it because I wanted to watch some
Yeah.
Steve Jobs. And
I know you did.
when he
I mean, I didn't know that, but I know you did.
when he listed all the bullet points that were the key things of the iPhone, where it was like it's got a whatever Wi-Fi and it's got the touchscreen and it's got multi-touch. His final bullet point was patented! Exclamation point. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
he was really proud of the fact that it was so new. The inventions were so new that they were in fact patented.
That's funny that.
Also, it was immediately everyone did all the exact same tech from that phone shut up everywhere else. But
Yeah, no, it's funny that you even that was even a thing because that he would bother putting on a slide because I was just thinking the other day, like I was looking at my just like coffee travel mug, just like the metal cylinder you pour coffee into and you screw it closed. And I was just like looking at the inside of the cap and it stamped in metal says patented. And I was like, what does it even mean for this thing to be patented? Like, I'm sure that like I couldn't make it. Like, I'm not smart enough to make this good and keep the coffee hot. But like, why does anything, like, what is the value of anything being patented at the point that like that thing, which is made by many different manufacturers,
maybe you had
and
the
can
first
be
one.
bought
I bet
anywhere.
it's got to have one special feature, Chris.
That's
that
what I
makes it
mean. That's
unique.
like it's a nominal. It's like
It's probably got the metallic inside and the metallic outside with the little air chamber between, but then it has a very specific like honeycomb pattern
Right.
inside of
Yeah.
the cooling
That's
chambers.
what I mean. That's what I mean. Like,
So,
well, so I mean, it's not as though like Steve Jobs just took like the Q phone and put a honeycomb pattern on it and was like, this allowed me to patent it.
I think that before the iPhone came out, the only time that multi-touch stuff had actually been anywhere was in like a guy's TED Talk.
Was the original iPhone was multi-touch?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Oh yeah.
I guess you would know as a
That was the whole point. Like that was
Yeah.
when people like their
But that's
brains
also what-
exploded.
Pinch it.
Yeah, pinch to zoom.
You gotta pinch it.
You gotta pinch it, Chris.
That's
You
what
gotta pinch it, said Steve
that's another
Jobs.
classic Steve Jobsism. Could have sued him. Gotta pinch it.
Thank God.
Steve
this,
Jobs' soundboard is a really good soundboard.
Yeah.
apparently.
It's just It's used for many like large white suited lawyers in cartoons. It's really good that I had XSplit muted at the beginning of this, so Twitch chat has no idea what we're talking about. I
that's
unmuted
fine.
it halfway into you talking about a mug.
Oh, weird.
It's okay. It all ties back to Steve Jobs, everyone, like everything does. Anyway, yeah, Steve Jobs loves patenting things. I forget what
I mean, literally everyone does. Is what I like. That's what's.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
yeah.
Because I get it. I get why he's pleased about like
Oh, he's
that
proud of
phone.
it.
Like that was an amazing device. But like it sort of cheapens the whole thing
Nope.
when like I mean essentially every like I don't know like I wouldn't
It's
be
not
surprised.
patented,
I mean,
Chris.
I
It's a
wouldn't
mug.
blow my
Mugs are in the public domain.
no, they're not because I have one
Well, you have a
that is
good one.
patented.
Anyway.
So people are just sitting here watching us.
People are wondering what
for
the
like
fuck.
5 minutes.
Yeah. What you missed, people at home, was
Nothing.
The mic test. It's fine.
That's our standard,
We always open up with some thoughts
Yeah.
about Steve, our good friend. May he rest in peace. And then we get into the goofs. Yeah, preparing for episode 300, I went and listened to a bunch of old episodes. Our mic check goofs are way better. Like around like episode 15 to 35, 40. Like there's some good stuff.
Like hours of stuff, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These days, no. We just talk about Steve Jobs with the microphones off.
One of those things makes it particularly.
Well, back when Steve Jobs was alive, our pre-roll goofs were way
Our
better.
microphones were turned on.
Yeah.
Always. Now we mute half of each podcast.
In honor of when
Steve
we
Jobs.
had Jobs, Cash, and whatever the third one was. Hope. Back when we had Hope.
Yeah. I used to really hope I could keep the microphones turned on.
But then Bob Hope died.
And then I just didn't have the cash to get new ones.
God, 2016, am I right? We lost
I had
Steve
one
Jobs, Bob
Jobs.
Hope, Johnny Cash. It's just...
That's true. Will it ever end? Will 2016 ever come?
26th?
Will 2016, the year that claimed Steve Jobs, John Cash, and whatever that other guy was?
Bowie.
Bring it, 2016.
2016 is over, but 2016 has just begun.
Never ends.
Jesus Christ. So in conclusion, the reason that I think Jurassic Park 3 is the better movie, I actually don't think it's necessarily better, but this actually feels so hollow after all of our discussion about continuing series and whatever.
Hopefully, this podcast is edited such that all of that discussion comes, and then we do the harp music, and then we realize that.
No. This podcast is in fact presented in Machete order. Yeah. So, this Jurassic Park 3, the returning character is Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, as opposed to The Lost World, where
it's Jeff Goldblum,
as Ian Malcolm, and then like also the Hammond family is in there for like a tiny minute.
Right.
But the horrible thing about The Lost World to me is that it's like Jeff Goldblum is the lead character, and it's Dr. Ian Malcolm, which should be like that's a good opportunity. Like the amount of potential that they have there.
Yeah.
Is high, and the amount that they waste is all of it except for one shot.
Is it the yawn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a woman at the very beginning of The Lost World gets attacked by a dinosaur, screams, and then it cuts, and the scream carries over to...
God, this is so good.
To like a picture, or to footage of Jeff Goldblum...
on a beach, seemingly.
On a beach with his mouth open as if the scream is coming from him, and then it turns into a yawn, and then the camera pans and reveals that he's just in a New York subway station with an ad for a tropical vacation behind him.
It is so many layers of stupidity
and
revealed from themselves.
the wind of the storm on the beach is replicated by there being a train going by, blowing his hair.
Yeah.
Like,
God, it is fantastic.
That scene is great, and then the rest of the movie...
I mean, it's great in a way that is so stupid... I mean, like, it is actually great in how inventive and crazy it is, but it's also a kind of great that the original Jurassic Park never would have brooked.
But
never.
Is totally in Spielberg's wheelhouse, especially early Spielberg, of just like...
when he's a little more playful.
Goofy garbage. But whatever. From that point on, Jeff Goldblum's job in that movie is to be the guy who's like, I've seen some crazy shit with dinosaurs, and you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, he's not good in
His
that
job
movie,
is just to say no. And I think I enjoyed watching Jurassic Park 3 because Dr. Alan Grant actually kind of has a story arc, and his character is at least consistent, and like Sam Neill can do something good that kind of like reminds you why like he's still out on digs. He's kind of Jurassic Park happened by that point like a decade earlier in his life, but like it has him go and like try to present a lecture to some like undergrads, and the only questions that like kids have is like, I'm not even planning on going into your profession because Jurassic Park exists. Like, obviously, because a dinosaur can exist, this is worthless. He's like, the place that he's at in that movie is sort of trying to be like, well, actually, the fundamentals of this are still important, and this is still going to be a science, and my career is not worthless. But like, I don't know. Like,
well, that character is also a sort of more grounded character to base a movie on. Whereas, I think a lot of the thing that feels like a waste about The Lost World is that the Ian Malcolm character has to really be flattened out a lot in order to make him capable of sustaining an entire plot of a movie.
Right. Well, or the movie is about that character having to actually take on responsibilities that are like way outside of his wheelhouse, and like you could see there could be a totally bugged out, sweating version of this movie where Ian Malcolm is like, oh, this is real.
Yeah,
it's not that. He's just like tight shirt Independence Day Jeff Goldblum 100%. But like, I liked that Jurassic Park 3 actually tried to still have that stuff, even though it eventually just goes.
Well, now I want to watch Jurassic Park 3.
It's a piece of shit.
Yeah, okay.
But like,
it's not good.
It's not worth watching at all.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
I liked that it tried. It felt like a more earnest attempt at a sequel, as opposed to The Lost World, which felt like Spielberg just kind of fucking around because he had to make it, and then. But it didn't end up being fun for anyone other than him, I don't think, to watch that movie. Anyway, that's how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader.
Well, speaking of Jeff Goldblum, I'd forgotten about this on this podcast, but all three of us are going to be in his presence this Saturday. We are so Nick and I, last year, 2 years? I can't remember.
Yeah, last year.
A little while ago, yeah. Last year, we saw Jeff Goldblum's Jazz Combo live, and we're doing that again this weekend, except Jake's also going to be there.
Ruining it.
Spoiling it. And that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It was a good weird show. I forget if we probably talked about it on the podcast. I can't really remember, but it's a good strange thing that he does. And I assume this will be very similar. I mean, the difference is that one was presented that one was at a jazz club in a hotel.
This is part of Sketchfest
this year.
Yes,
this one is a little more admitting about probably why most of its audience is showing up, which is that it's explicitly part of a comedy event. But it has both components fully. Both of those things are fully part of the show.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, good doing a podcast with you guys this week.
Yeah.
I forgot to queue up reader mail.
Yeah.
We're just going straight to reader mail. Yes.
Some reader mail.
Well, actually, you know what? Before we go straight to reader mail, I'm just going to mention one thing. I got into obviously sort of a reflective mode towards the end of that Star Wars stuff, as I was talking about, like Carrie Fisher and the way that the media. It was a very jumbled point I was making, and I don't really know if I ended up making a point. But one sort of more directly experiential thing that I can mention is last night I went to see an interview with Zadie Smith, the novelist. She was supposed to be interviewed by Dave Eggers, but he was out of town. So instead, she was interviewed by Michael Chabon, and he did a great job in Eggers' absence. And Zadie Smith is the author of.
Oh man, they got the other one to do.
I know they got the other one. When he came on stage, that was basically the joke. He introduced himself as Dave Eggers, and then and the whole thing was basically like acknowledging that. Yeah. Another Bay Area sort of white guy, acclaimed, slightly dorky novelist is here. Anyway, Zadie Smith is the author of most recently of Swing Time, but also the novel N.W., which I really really love. Other novels like On Beauty and White Teeth, and she's just really smart. And it was an incredibly enjoyable interview. She said she is astonishingly intelligent, like very sort of easily intelligent in a way that is not overbearing in any way. She just clearly thinks about things so fully and is able to speak about them so easily and sort of I don't know how to put it, but like calmly. Like it's just it was a very like nice, relaxing evening, but also it felt like my brain had been wrenched open and like a hand
in a relaxing way.
And like sort of just massaged it, and like it actually really did ease. Yesterday was a really stressful day if you were on the internet. Like it's just if you care about the state of the world, it was like a really weird day full of dumb things, and going to that and seeing two incredibly intelligent people speak about life and art and the world in a very intelligent but also like fundamentally calm and not just like manic way like on this podcast was really valuable. And it reminded me that like I've been spending a lot of time recently with sort of entertainment comfort food. Like I've sort of decreased the amount of time I spend like listening to politically tinged podcasts and things like that because I'm finding like everything in the world so stressful right now. And going to this reminded me that it is also really important not just to seek out the easy bullshit like what we provide.
Whoa.
I mean, let's be real. But like, and also not the sort of intelligent stuff that's just going to stress you out. Like, it's also good to try and like reach up a little bit for the things that are worthwhile and are going to sort of broaden your perspective as a person in ways that have perspective and are like fundamentally calming and like sedate.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of pressure right now to slide off that knife's edge in either one of two directions,
Right.
which is just go apeshit over how much you love Marvel movies, or you better be fucking paying attention and engaged and active and somehow making a difference just by way of pointing your eyes at the most aggressively aligned political news
right,
that you can
right,
fucking
yes.
find.
Yeah.
And anything in the middle is like a weird dead zone.
Well, because even saying, yeah, exactly, because it's...
To make a video game analogy, it's like the center of an analog stick, video games.
Because, yeah, right. The thing that I sort of realized last night that I actually had not been thinking about recently is that it's not a gradient between those two extremes. There are other entirely different axes that aren't even part of that line that are like, oh, you can actually also just experience things that go in a totally different direction that isn't part of this sort of thin band of the way of interacting with things that happens like sort of just on social media and stuff, where everything is either like aggressively like escapist or aggressively, intentionally sort of anger-inducing.
Yeah, I went to a
handful.
handful of free museums over Christmas break, and it had a very similar effect on me.
There
Just
you go.
like,
Yeah.
Yep, that's a thing that I can do with my brain that
Yeah.
is educating me and also still giving me some interesting social perspective that I hadn't thought about, but also is not assaulting me either with how happy I should feel or how anxious I should feel.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my endorsement that is impossible to specifically replicate, which is seeing Zadie Smith and Michael Chabon in conversation at the North Theater in San Francisco in the past. But I don't know.
But you
like,
can also listen to that.
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder actually. I don't know if you can.
No,
or
they
not.
always record it and
Oh,
put it
do
on
they? Oh, that's really good
NPR.
to know. I didn't
Yeah.
actually know that. Okay. It's a great conversation, and there's a lot in it about sort of what art can achieve to better the world, what it can't achieve, and the whole thing was uplifting and encouraging and had a lot of perspective. And, you know, if you have the time and interest and inclination, seek out things like that. If you not just this thing in particular, but like, you know, that stuff is harder to find, but every once in a while, like, find something like that to sort of try and calm your brain.
Man, actually, I think that this general conversation, although the specifics are obviously very different, but the reasons are the same. I have gotten back into playing The Witness in the last month, and I've been engaging with The Witness. I think the way that probably someone my age or slightly older played Myst in the 90s, which is just like, I will just go and sit down and use it as an opportunity to sort of be alone with my thoughts for 40 minutes, and it's been very good. Actually, we were talking about that at work. A lot of people in the office seem to have gone back and started playing The Witness over
I would like to do
over
that.
like
Yeah.
over like winter
You saying
break.
that makes me want to do
And
that.
I suspect
never
that it
finished
is like it's a very solitary, like not meditative experience. It's like intellectually stimulating, but it's just sort of its objective is just to engage a different part of your brain, but in a way that is not like that game doesn't care if you solve its puzzles or not. It doesn't care if you
Right.
wander around, but at the same time, like it feels like a learning process. I don't know. I really bounced off that game at the beginning of this year, but it's now like the thing that Mario Run are the for a very different reason.
Very,
like
very different, yeah.
if my brain is doing nothing, I'm playing Mario Run. But if I want to actually just like
If your
have a
brain-
little like window into
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a solitary space that I can do some active and background thinking at the same time, I've been playing The Witness.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That game really encourages sort of a meditative state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. We talked about Mario a lot last week, and a lot of people wrote in or just tweeted or posted forum posts with various pieces of feedback, and there was one piece of crucial Mario lore that I think that we forgot to talk about, but it's like it's my favorite like missing puzzle piece of this entire thing. We talked about how perhaps Mario ascends to becoming like a corrupted ruler, Wario, but that his brother Luigi goes and just disappears, and Mario's son Mario becomes the new Mario. What someone pointed out, someone said that. Well, a couple people pointed this out, but one person said they were just screaming at the podcast that the original Luigi and Mario's son Mario are obviously the pair that are described as the new Super Mario Brothers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it is.
So I thought that was very, very good. I feel like this all really does hold
does
up.
actually, yeah,
I think that
yeah.
it was,
The theory
Nintendo
stands.
may not know,
Yeah.
but
It all connects.
It all connects.
Yeah, checks out.
That was that. Yeah. People said a lot of
True things.
a lot of true things.
Mitch Mastroni, I don't know what this means, writes, ask Nick about Breckie the Clown, his father's former professional title. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't remember what I must have been on a stream or something.
Oh, you just made this up.
No, it's real. My dad was a clown.
Whoa.
What?
For like not necessarily professionally as a clown, but he
What
worked.
do you mean not necessarily professionally?
I don't know the whole story. I should have asked him in preparation. I didn't know this was coming up, but yeah.
I thought
he,
I didn't
he,
think this.
He and
I
his
didn't-
friend were clowns to promote, I think, a store that he was working for at the time, and they would go around the store dressed as a clown, and his like title that he gave himself was Breckie the Clown. But then, like, people would just call him Breckie for the rest of his life, based off of this thing. So,
Yeah.
it's, ostensibly calling him a clown,
Right.
but just, yeah. But yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah,
Wow.
I should have asked him about the history of that stuff. But yeah, yep.
Are there photographs?
I don't think so. If there are, I should find them.
No one will ever again, for the rest of human existence, be able to have an episode
Not
like that
have
in their
that.
life and
Yeah.
not have it be extensively documented.
It's true.
Yep.
Your father is a lucky man
Probably.
that he was born whenever he was born,
Yeah.
because that is going away.
Yep. No, it's true. You can just go through your iPhone photo roll and find that time that you were a clown for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But he was probably a clown for like 4 years, and there's probably
Right, and there's
zero
nothing.
evidence
yeah.
of it. Yeah,
the
yeah.
future Breckies of the world
Yeah.
have no recourse.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Anyway. Yep. Well,
No luck there, Jake?
Well, I mean, really, it's insane. Like the Frog Fractions 2 ARG or the ARGs were so complicated and insane. Like a couple people who were involved in solving them told me last week that I did not do them justice in my quick wrap up, which is true, but I'm quickly scrolling through this website and it is revealed that I absolutely did not do it justice. So instead of trying to do that, my recommendation is that you just Google the phrase Game Detectives Wiki Frog Fractions 2 and hit the top link. Game Detectives is like the subreddit / Discord chat group of like game ARG busters, basically, and they have an extensive, insane wiki that documents the entire like first year and a half of Frog Fraction 2's existence. And it is like looking at the most absurd conspiracy movie of all time, basically. Like there's just Google Earth maps with like shapes drawn on them that then correspond to things, and just like it's wild. But just do that and ignore what I said last week, and you'll have a good time. ARG solving is like EVE Online or something, I think, where it's fun to read about what
Sure.
people are doing more
Yeah.
than it actually is fun
Yeah.
to participate in it.
I mean, unless you're a particular kind of person.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
although
As it
now, because those guys, because a lot of ARG solvers do that in public chat rooms on things like Discord, you can also be a voyeuristic weirdo and watch them in real
Yeah,
time.
that's
Which
true.
I
Yeah.
spent like 2 weeks at the end of Frog Fractions 2 doing that. Once the Firewatch update went live, I just idled in the chat room, and it was my bad reality TV show of watching a bunch of people on the internet try to put a map on top of another map. Thrilling stuff. Anyway, go look at that Game Detective. Go look at that, junior game detectives at home.
Go look at that, Game Detective. Sounds like just the recurring like tagline you would have heard in a like Carmen Sandiego clone.
Yep.
Right? Like just like go check it out, Game Detective.
Yeah.
Like click Cairo whatever.
Henchman found.
Yeah. That exists, by the way, in Frog Fractions too. It just occurred to me.
Oh, there's a Carmen Sandiego in there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. With a weird like Latin version of the Rockapella theme song. It's very good and weird.
I have not gotten to that part of Frog
it's-
Fractions 2.
It takes a while. Yeah. That game is big. All right. Well,
That's a podcast.
might be it.
Oh, one weird thing. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
One weird thing invented by a mom
Yeah. Yep.
that Obama doesn't want you to know about, etc. One of the recent Wizard Jam game, or one of the games from the most recent Wizard Jam, which was Wizard Jam 4 that happened, in November?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Called The Bear's Black Heart, which is a game based on the time that you bought a bear that would always sing Happy Birthday to Nick, but he diffused correctly, got played on YouTube by Markiplier, who is a big Let's Player, and it's actually a pretty interesting stream if you are a person who wants to go watch a video that is... If you want to watch a major YouTube personality play a procedurally generated game that is actually pretty fun, but has no idea what it means when they like encounter and devour Dot Gobbler.
Yeah.
I recommend watching that. Also, I brought that up to say that we are going to at some point actually be streaming those Wizard Jam games. And
Do you want to announce that date?
yeah, what date did we pick?
I think it is I think the Saturday after this coming Saturday, I believe, right?
Yeah, so a week and a half from now.
The actual date of that. It is January 21st.
Yes, and that's probably going to only be the first half of them. But if you are a Wizard Jam person and you have and you were hoping for us to announce that date so that you could make sure your game isn't broken, because I know people did that last time, January 21st, and then the next one will probably be a couple weeks after that. We'll stream the second half of Wizard Jam because there's over 60 games. It's crazy. Watch one of them. I'm sure much like Markiplier's stream, our Wizard Jam stream is going to rack up like 900,000 views in 2 days.
Well, the actual interesting thing to me, because I watched some of the Markiplier stream, and I have a limit to how much of that stuff I can watch. But the really interesting part about it to me was that simply because that guy streamed it, there are now tons of just Let's Plays of the Bear's Black Heart.
Yeah.
Because like,
Yep.
like all the people who just like follow that guy all the time now know about this game and want to do their own stream about it. So this obscure Wizard Jam game now has, I don't know, dozens maybe of
Let's Plays.
just Let's Plays online. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yep.
All right, so that is, we don't know the specific time. Probably, I would guess around like noon Pacific is pretty common for when we do that stuff. But that'll be January 21st at twitch.tv/idlethumbs. Wizard Jam 4 Part 1. Join us for that. And thanks for listening to Idle Thumbs. You can subscribe to this podcast at idlethumbspodcast.com. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/idlethumbs.
It's not going to be the 21st.
Oh, it's not?
No, I don't think that was the date.
Oh, sorry. Is it the 28th then?
Yeah, that's the 21st is the weekend that I'm gone. Hi, everyone.
Sorry,
Hello.
Sorry. Okay.
Anyway.
January 28th, probably around noon Pacific. Sorry. At twitch.tv/idlethumbs. That is January 28th for Wizard Jam 4 Part 1 on our Twitch channel. All right. You can subscribe to this podcast. Again.
This is a good one.
This is a good one. At idlethumbspodcast.com. It's on iTunes. It's on the Google Play Store. It's on, all the places podcasts can be found. We're on Twitter at idlethumbs. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/idlethumbs. You can write us email about whatever stuff at questions@idlethumbs.net, and we will at least read it. And, I will at least read it personally, and then I will do my best to get it on the podcast. That is questions@idlethumbs.net. We will be back next week. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
All right. No, fuck this. I'm putting you guys on blast. We are saying goodbye to these people in an enthusiastic way. We're letting these people go off into the world. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
This podcast is never as good as it used to be back when there were those baboos.
Aplenty.
Baboos aplenty. Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye.